Einar, you're not addressing the question. And I'd like to go across to Buenos Aires, where Andrei Serbin, Pont is there, is director of the CRIS think tank, is an international analyst. We are all getting concerned, and I think the only way out is a global negotiation. It cannot be Russia versus Ukraine anymore, with the world looking on nervously, leaving it to chance. What do you think, Andrei?
I think that, there's several factors that are coming into play here. And of course, this goes beyond the conflict itself between Ukraine and Russia, or more specifically, the absolute violation of Ukraine's sovereignty by Russia. And of course, major players are coming into play. But, we have to really consider if a lot of the players that are in play are interested in engaging certain types of discussions or amplifying these discussions. For the moment being, I think that we have to really consider what NATO is going to be doing in the foreseeable future, how it's going to be facing off with Russia, especially after the actions it has taken in Ukraine, and how that may or may not lead to new tensions. I think that it's very bad messaging on behalf of Moscow at the moment, increasing their nuclear alert levels at this moment. But we also have to understand it in a very specific context of what seems to be a relatively unsuccessful operation in Ukraine terrain, and the need to sit down and starting to negotiate in conditions that are not necessarily favorable to them. When it comes to global discussions, we have to really try and agree who are the global actors that are to be involved in these discussions. Are we talking about nuclear powers? Are we talking about members of the Security Council? Are we going to include the Global South in these discussions? Is the Global South relevant in these discussions? These are big questions that we need to define if we're going to really discuss a global discussion on this issue. For the moment being, I think that the focus will continue to be on Russia and NATO.
Yes, but okay, Dove. Andrei says we need to decide who the protagonists in that discussion are going to be. For starters, I have been of the view constantly that it is America. Joe Biden and the rest of NATO should come out of hiding and stop operating in the shadows anymore. They cannot use Ukraine as a satellite state for their agenda and then send President Zelensky to negotiate with Putin.
We didn't send Zelensky, for starters, but the more important question that you raise is NATO in the shadows, and is the United States in the shadows? I don't think either are. I think it's pretty clear that that NATO and the United States are supplying the Ukrainians. They're the ones that are imposing sanctions. They're the ones that have sanctioned Putin directly. It's our friend from Moscow is pointing out that the Russian people are going to be hurt by this. And that's true. And it's nice that the Russian people are demonstrating. I don't know that Putin gives a hoot about that, quite frankly. I think he's scared. I think this nuclear alert is, frankly, that's the one thing that's going to worry even China, because who calls for a nuclear alert in wartime like this? This hasn't gone on in decades. I think it's a huge mistake on his part. What can be done right now? Very simple. They can call a ceasefire, immediate ceasefire. That's between Ukraine and Russia. And then you may want to bring the United Nations in, the Security Council in order to help with the developments. But that's what needs to be done.